an X% of a budget going towards housing. Well, 35% more is going towards paying electricity bills in just the past 3 years.
That's tremendous. I mean, that's not something that people have been used to planning for or preparing for at all.
Prediction: it's going to keep getting more expensive because we don't have any proper oversight or regulation in these markets at this point in time. So here's my thesis. Ready? So this just came out in Reuters yesterday, and there's a lot of colors on here. I'm going to just look at this chart here on the right very quickly, but this is global natural gas power capacity in the top 15 gas-producing countries. This is, look at the increase from H1. Well, no, let me go to the blow up here. This is that same chart. From the first half of 2024 to first half of 2025, whoops. And a lot of this is the United States, is just this blue. So it says here that pre-construction of natural gas plants, power plants in the U.S. is 6 times larger than it was a year ago, moving from 15,000 megawatts or 15 gigawatts to 90 gigawatts. So I calculated it out. That's going to be about another 8 billion cubic feet per day of demand. And that's all in construction. It is coming, right? Mm-hmm. 8 billion cubic feet. Oh, are we going to get 8 billion cubic feet more out of the ground? Well, not according to the Energy Information Agency. This is their projection of dry marketed natural gas production, and it's dead flat, maybe even slightly down for the entire next year from now. Mm-hmm. So where's that coming from? And by the way, Paul, I can't believe what I'm seeing. It's easy to find a $25 billion data center going in. And it's kind of mysterious to me because it's being put in by a company I've never heard of, like Data Source or what. They're like these little, like this, some of them just started up 2 years ago, and they have this VC money just piling in from who knows where. There was one that was just announced in Texas last week. $128 billion is the planned build out.
Wow.
It's a 5 gigawatt data center. Like, okay. That's 5 Denvers, since you were just there, 5 Denvers of power consumption. And again, that power has to come from somewhere, and it's going to come from natural gas. So to the extent that all electricity is kind of, it's an energy market. So it's priced at the margin, meaning everybody pays what the last guy pays, right? So if you have these things where all of a sudden, natural gas is cheap now, but if it doubles, there's nothing the Fed can do about it. You can drop interest rates. You could raise interest rates. You could jawbone. It won't matter. The energy markets are going to have to price that gas at a level that balances supply and demand.
Right.
And that's a higher price.
That's a higher price. And with supply not increasing like that, something has to give. And that's the problem. In America, we seem to be, it's a great idea, so let's implement it. Instead of developing this longer term plan and really strategically planning for the future, we're caught up in this instant gratification, and we're using up our margin for error. Yeah, natural gas prices are really low compared to what they were back in 2007 to 2010, 11. I think, when they cranked. Yeah, I'll have to go back and look at that. But we're running out of these areas for margin for error. And at some point it's going to come roaring back because we're not focusing on the problems from a long-term standpoint. And the market is misallocating capital because everybody's chasing the S&P 500 right now. Instead of going to where it should be going, it's just passive investing. Let's throw it in there because it's been working, and just a massive amount of marketing that Vanguard and the other index providers have put in there to convince people that passive is the right way, and it has been for a while. But there's no other area of our lives that being passive works really well from a long-term standpoint.
We mentioned it before. I don't have the chart with me on hand right now, but the percentage of the S&P that's contained in the energy companies is at an all-time low. I think it's like 2%. It's under 3%. It's like ridiculously low on a percentage basis. Now, if this is the near term, what is long term? Because they're projecting that data centers are going to create an 8% demand over the next 3 years on electricity consumption in the U.S. That's just in 3 years. And if this is coming from natural gas, this is from the long-term energy outlook, annual energy outlook. And again, these things can be wrong and they change them all the time. I don't take this as gospel, but Paul, look at this dry marketed dry gas. Here on the bottom, we have either a low oil price or less oil and gas supply than they think. If that's the case, we go down all the way from here to there. There are most of their cases center about here, which is about a 10% increase by 2050. We're going to have an 8% increased demand by right here, right? So it just becomes like, okay, where does that come from? Now, this has been kind of a lonely thesis for a little while, but Paul, Tavakasa just put this out. Are energy stocks quietly sneaking out? Are they quietly going to break out here?
It sure looks like it.
Doesn't it?
If it goes with the inflation thesis and the money printing, I mean, you're seeing some big institutions move into precious metals, obviously, from your central banks.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I mean, that looks like it's poised for a clear breakout with the fundamentals that are driving it from behind.
Yeah, kind of looks like it. And here's part of that fundamentals, which is, of course, U.S. operating oil and gas rigs is now lowest level since COVID lockdowns. This is going to create a future supply shock because you have to drill the wells for them to produce. And again, Octavio Costa writing here, the decline in oil and gas operating rigs over the past 4 months has been the steepest since the COVID lockdowns. We are likely approaching an inflection point for energy, in my view. 1, rig counts are falling. 2, inflation is picking up again. 3, bearish positioning in the energy stocks is as high as in 15 years. Sentiment deeply negative. Energy stocks starting to break out. So maybe drill, baby, drill wasn't as easy as it sounds. So now, if that's true, yeah.
That's an amazing chart right there. I have not seen that. That's absolutely mind-boggling.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just shedding rigs and experienced operators. They're called the frac crews that have to stand up. It's very complicated, right? There's 1,200 trucks will show up at a frac site to do the fracking. There's, obviously you have all the truck drivers, but then you have very, very sophisticated crews of people operating these high pressure machinery and the choreography of it and everything. It's pretty big. So those are called, a whole crew of that would be called a frac spread. And we're shedding those really fast because nobody can make money at these current prices. So very little of that's happening. And once you lose those, Paul, they don't come back so easy. So now I think we have the setup. This happens if or when energy prices spike. It's not going to be immediate. I think this is going to take a little time, but we are echoing the 1970s again here. With not just the energy price spike, which could be coming. Listen, inflation on electricity is already there. We're all familiar with that. People are lulled because gasoline is still pretty cheap right now, but that can change in a hurry, right? If or when something happens on that front. But what we see fundamentally is pretty clear. Over the next few years, this is going to, be a monster that comes back. And again, look at this time frame. It started to pick up in 1978, a little bit more in 79, 1980, started to fall back again. 81 wasn't until 82 that it really started to fall. So that's 5 years. These inflationary burns are kind of long fuses. So if the energy thesis I just laid out, if it just comes because, we forgot to plan, we built too many data centers, they need the gas, but we need the gas, but we have these LNG contracts that are kind of locked, they need the gas, everybody needs the gas. Well, obviously the only way you can square that circle is to have prices spike and kill demand.
Correct. And then as soon as those prices spike, with about a 3-year lag, you're going to have all of these trend following strategies that are going to jump right on top of it. Which is going to further exacerbate the prices and further exacerbate that inflation. So,
yep.
I mean, we've got an incredible backdrop because there's a lot of things to be concerned about when you look at just the S&P 500 and valuations. I mean, we're breaking all historical records and many of the valuation records.